I think a lot of focus is going to be on the lead.
Key photographer too, Jed. I was trying to match you yesterday with but
What is it?
the photography work, man. I'm impressed.
I appreciate it.
I tried to match you yesterday. Did the National Weather Service pick you up one day? I saw him. Weather Channel.
They sure
Tony is jealous. I can see by it looking.
I'm getting extra emails from Russia to show me their waterfalls now.
Oh yeah.
But,
I'm impressed. I enjoy those. I tried to match you yesterday, but
I saw that. I
Yep.
retweeted you there.
Okay,
I saw
all right.
it was a good shot. But a lot of focus is obviously going to be on the leap you're trying to take in the run game. But you've talked before about all the production you have returning on the perimeter. Okay, and you got two guys coaching your wideouts and coaching your slots that are accomplished guys. Big plays are downstream of more productive and consistent blocking on the perimeter, right? Talk about maybe how all those things tie together with those wideouts coming back for those big play possibilities.
yeah, that group. So if you rewind a year ago, I stood up here after post practice and talked about our receiver play. It was making me grayer, and how we had a long ways to go. Well, you fast forward a year ago, and we talked about, hey, we got to fix the room, we got to do some things. Well, you fast forward a year ago, now they go from that youth to a group that I think potentially they got to go out and do it consistently, but potentially could be one of the strengths of our football team. And not only just route running and catching the ball, but on the perimeter, because we're going to be stronger, understand better technique as far as blocking. It is huge, okay? The other thing, too, is when you're able to beat man coverage, all right? If people play man, they're +1 you in the box, all right? So, and that happened to us, especially early last year. Missouri's a great example. But if you play man, you can outnumber people in the box, which it's hard to run the ball. And if you're not winning your one-on-ones versus that unblocked guy, then it's really, really difficult, okay? So we're going to be better at beat man coverage, which will make people play with the second safety more, which, all right, will at least get them to the box later. And so it's going to be a huge benefit. And the other thing too is I think that our guys schematically have a better understanding, okay? And I think how we're going to do a couple of things different. We figured out who we were later in the year schematically, run game wise. And if you watch us, we didn't always have great numbers, but we had people covered up, and we weren't giving up those negative plays like we were earlier in the year. Yeah. The other thing too I noticed, this is totally off the subject, is I've been keeping up with the draft. I'm always intrigued by that, where they're coming from. How, if you look, we played against a lot of really good defense players last year, especially D linemen. Which I think sometimes our conference gets knocked a little bit, but several defensive linemen from our league are in the top 10 projections, not top 10 overall picks, but top 10 at their positions.
Your comment about self-reflection.
Yep.
Now you have like a sole offensive coordinator who and you talked about your relationship. Does that change anything as far as your role in the offense? Was that part of your evaluation lesson?
Yeah. So here's what I think that I need to do a better job than I did a year ago. Where a year ago is I felt like those guys were waiting on me a lot, Mike. And now Jared is leading that room. So when I'm called out to do head coaching stuff, like there's a true leader in there. There's an offensive coordinator. He has the vision, and that's not knocking against anything we did last year. It's just a lot of guys were waiting on me, and they weren't as prepared as they needed to be till probably later in the week. And that's something that, as a head coach, I think you always got to look inward. I think you look inward before you look outward, and that's something that I own. And that was when we had an opening in our staff offensively. That was the reason why I really felt strongly about Jared being the right guy.
Position changes, anything significant going into spring?
I'm just looking at Greg. I'll tell you. No big or no major position switch. No, I mean we're gonna have some versatility in our secondary. Just we got a lot of those guys back outside a corner, so we're gonna dual train those guys. Same with some guys at Bandit and Mike linebacker, double train them, but no major position changes to start spring. No.
Neal, some of those young defensive backs that kind of got thrown in the fire last year, where you at with those guys now?
Yeah, I think Nick Troy Fortune's had a really good off season. He's a guy that, if you go back, he made several really good plays in that TCU game to finish up. One of them on the last drive, he didn't use great technique, got beat, came and did a little detail thing we talk about all the time with his hands, punching up through the ball, made a big play. I've been impressed with Jackie Matthews to this point. I think he's going to be a key in our secondary. He's got to be a player for us. Tay Mayo's made a big stride. He's still got a long way to go, but he's made strides from last spring. We're going to go with Jai for Jaito, so it doesn't put any stress on anybody else. But Jai is a guy that physically is ready to play. He's in a new country and, a bunch of different dynamics working there. But he's a guy that's going to get a lot of reps this spring, and he'll get better. And then Tyke Smith is a guy that, even though he freshman All-American, all those type of things, he's got a ton of improvement, and I like how he's pushed himself. And then Sean Mahone has to be a leader for us. I think he played really well at the end of the year. If he can make that same transition, he'll be an NFL player. And then it's going to be fun to watch Alonzo Dye. He was one of our high spots really on scout team and things like that last year. To get him back in the action, and I think Jake Long too. Jake Long is a guy that played some snaps for us later in the year after Norwood got hurt. And then the last one is Drayshawn. Drayshawn Miller will go through practice in the spring, and he's gone through our entire winter workout phase. So I think the red shirt in hindsight is going to be a positive for him.
Anything on Kerry Martin?
Did I skip him? If I did, I didn't mean to. It's funny. Like KJ, played last year. All those games started, and he made the comment to me just this morning. We were finishing up our last workout, and we kind of did this kind of a wall sit. And y'all have seen it. I think we've been putting it on social media where we play country roads, and they got to do some kind of activity as long as the song plays. And he came up to me because he was an early enrollee last year. So he comes up and he's like, Coach, there's no way I could have done that a year ago. And I'm sitting there thinking, there's no way you would have done a lot of things a year ago. You just think about, you're just talking about a year's time, but he's made a lot of growth, and he's a guy that I think is going to be a high-end player for us without a doubt.
How much improvement in the run blocking do you think this winter has provided, just in strength and conditioning?
Yeah, well, the strength more so in the conditioning. I think that part of it, it's a maturation process too. I mean, I think offensive line is really, really difficult to play young in your career. Now, there's some guys that are special that can do it. But when you get in the trenches, there's such a big difference between a 17, 18-year-old and a 20, 21, 22-year-old. There's a lot of off seasons involved there. And so, plus, the people in our league, they move so much. They move, and that picture changes, especially for those interior guys. It's difficult. So we definitely needed to get stronger. The thing that I was encouraged about, I may even said this in December, the thing I was encouraged about as I went back and watched all our run game cut-ups is we were on people. We had people covered up, and got better at that as the year progressed. We just didn't necessarily get movement, So the hope is as we grow, mature, get stronger, we can continue to have our communication and get movement and cover them up, but we also can get movement now.
Do you have enough arms for spring?
Yeah, we do. We do. We've got so Garrett's here. Garrett Green's here, and he so he'll get a lot of work. And then Trent Jackson, who's been here, and then we've got a transfer also. His name's Matt Cavallaro that played in the national championship game last year from Lackawanna. So yeah, we've got plenty of arms to get through the spring.
The reason Sam James should become the big play player that you expect him to be this year.
Yeah, well, I would say he was last year. The thing that he lacked last year was consistency, and so, and I give a lot of credit to Sam because he's a guy that takes ownership. He didn't catch a high enough percentage of his balls. I think he caught 69 for, I don't know, was it 700 or 800, Monty? Somewhere in that range. But he's a guy that had his percentage of drops was, we're looking to catch 91% or higher, and it wasn't anywhere close to that. And some of those were in critical situations. And so I think he did a really good job of taking ownership on that. I think that he's done things that physical, mental preparation that are going to put him in a better position to be the big time player. And he's stronger. He's gained weight. Like when you see him, he looks different, especially upper body wise. I think the TCU game, if you look back, and I can't remember the kid's name, but he's like second or third corner in the draft from TCU. I think we'll look back and say that what a great learning experience that was for Sam James, because he took him across. I mean, wherever, and we lined Sam up a bunch of different places. If you go back and watch the game, he was a number 3 inside. He was a number 2 inside. We played him outside, right, left. We moved him around, and that kid went everywhere he went. And Sam lost more than he won that game. But what happens is it's been a great learning tool, because if we can take the talent Sam has, the speed, the ability to get open at the top of routes, and we combine that with high attention to detail, then he'll be the special player. But I think it might have taken some of those drops, some of those losses against a player the caliber of the kid at TCU, where Sam wants to be. You know, if we're sitting here 3 years from now and Sam's one of the top players in his position in the draft, I think he'd be pretty fired up about it. And so those have been really good experiences for him, and I think he's going to grow. And at the end of the day, he's going to be a sophomore. You know, and I think fair or unfair, he probably had to carry maybe a higher load than he was ready for a year ago.
Stills brothers. What do you expect?
I was wondering if you're going to ask a question.
Well, I was going to say they're the two guys that could be potentially your.
I wasn't talking about Stills. I was talking about you. You were sitting there. I was like, basketball got you worn out. So the thing with the Stills brothers is productive last year. Okay, really productive. Big discrepancy between their good and bad. Right. To me, great players shouldn't be a big discrepancy. Right. So to me, if you're a great player, like everybody's gonna have a little better day, but like your bad should still be pretty good. You know, if you're a guy, like a dude, right? Like, so our push for them, especially with Darius, is let's minimize what your bad is. You know, let's make your great, and let's try to be at that level all the time, which is consistency. And so it's been good. Dante's going through a kind of a body transformation. He got sick, which has kind of put a pause on that a little bit, but we're taking some weight off of him to get his weight back up to a better weight. But they've had quality winners, and technique-wise, this is a big spring for them. You know, they were productive, but technically they can get a lot better. And Jordan would say the same.
More Baylor games, but more games closer to Baylor.
Yeah, exactly. You know, less Missouri games, less. I could go on. Texas Tech. I could go on.
Now, you mentioned the new guys in recruiting. Have you set where they're going to recruit territory-wise yet?
Yeah. What if I hit that when I get in there? Because I'll go. I don't want to say wrong. I'll come find you. I'll tell you.
Do you know where you need extra depth in the summer, or is that maybe?
Yeah, our roster will continue to change. It will. I think that we need to continue to add to our offensive line room. We need to, defensively, corner is a room that I think could value some experience. D tackles, interior D lineman, I think we're probably a body. Probably need one body. Those are some key areas, and those things could always change too as we go through spring. But as we start, that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, you got offensive linemen, running backs. You said you want to run the ball, but you rattled off that you need defensive linemen. You have injuries, limitations. Defensive line, linebacker, not ideal, but could that be good? Can that be a hindrance at all? Maybe develop guys in different positions.
Yeah, I think probably a lot of programs in the same. It's probably, and you've asked this question before. I think you asked me at media days. Kind of the world we're in right now, where you have fewer bodies. And I think we had either 6 or 7 mid-years. I was watching a practice earlier in the week, and they had 15 mid-years that were already there. So our numbers in the spring are a little bit down. So we've got to be really intelligent about how we go about practice, but we've got to be physical. Okay, so we're not at a point where we're good enough on both line of scrimmages where we can minimize the physicality during the spring. So we're going to have to be physical. We're going to have to be smart about how we do it. We do have some numbers limitations. So how we structure practice, when we take breaks and things like that, it's going to be important. But we've got to have a physical element in spring ball.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
Okay.